The best things are nearest: breath in your nostrils, light in your eyes, flowers at your feet, duties at your hand, the path of God just before you. Then do not grasp at the stars, but do life's plain common work, as it comes certain that daily duties and daily bread are the sweetest things of life.
I love
That
that.
is, isn't that neat? That is from Robert Louis Stevenson.
Hmm.
And it comes from, I found it on a it's on Facebook. It's a page on Facebook called Slow, Simple, Seasonal. And
Huh,
Kathy
I follow that
White,
page.
do you follow it? Okay. Well,
Mhm.
she sent it. Kathy White, my friend from Australia that we mentioned a couple weeks ago. She said, I think you would like this. And I did. And she said, you would like it too. So I'm
Mhm.
glad that you think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I'm Carla Moore. With me is Kathy Pollard. We are the two co-hosts of our weekly podcast called Looking Up with Kathy and Carla. We're glad you've joined us. Thank you for being part of our group, our friendship, our little circle, our family, our Looking Up family. We enjoy getting together once a week and talking about things that are applicable, appropriate for Christian women, things that we think are interesting. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a discussion about something that's kind of swept the world as it is. Uh, well, we'll just get to that in a minute. It's a theory, but it's not really a theory. It's just something that we're going to talk about. It is what, the second week of May, and it's almost your birthday. So we're going to talk about what you're going to do on your birthday. We just finished Mother's Day. So tell me, what did you do for Mother's Day?
Well, I saw some of the kids, and they had kind of an interesting weekend, which I'll get to in a second. And Neil wanted to take me out to a nice restaurant, but I really just wanted to go home and eat a really good BLT. So that's what
Sim-
we did, and it was fantastic. I found this loaf of bread that had ground pepper in it, cracked pepper in it, and it made for a great BLT sandwich. And he took me by a Great American Donut Shop to pick out some yummy donuts. So, because that's all my thing. Neil could care less about eating a sandwich. He doesn't even like donuts. So it's a
What
really
is wrong with him?
yeah, it's a little strange. It is. He's a weirdie, but it was so fun. It was fun.
You're a cheap date.
Yeah. So what'd you do for Mother's Day?
Well, we had the family fishing trip this weekend. It started on Thursday, and we usually stay through Sunday and worship together as a family there. But I came home early on Saturday night because Mom wanted to go to worship on Sunday. So John was still out at the Bend, and I was with Mom that morning, and we went to Rose's Cafe. Y'all don't have a Rose's, do you?
No.
I think I've talked about it on here before because to me it's like it's an upscale Taco Cabana, which I don't think you have that either, but it's like five levels above Taco Bell.
Mhm.
It's got really good fajitas. And anyway, I took her over to Rose's in Austin, and then I came back and John was home by then. And so that was the end of our marathon of travel and places to be. So we just crashed on the couch the rest of the day. And I
Sounds
heard
good.
from the kids, they all the boys texted me. I had to ask Micah for his Mother's Day text to me. I knew he wouldn't mind. I didn't want to be rude about it, but at about 5 o'clock, I was like, okay, Mike, I haven't heard from you yet. So I sent him a meme of a little cat with a tail swishing and with a smile saying, and I said, I'm waiting for my Mother's Day text. And he said, now I don't want to send you one. But anyway, I was just teasing him. So it was fun. It was a nice, quiet day. I like quiet days.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. Well, so last Thursday, I went to my sister's house and she took me to the chocolate covered strawberry, which is adorable little like brick home that they've converted into this almost brunch place. And she took me there last year also. So we went back there to do an early birthday celebration, had fruit tea and cucumber sandwiches, and it was really good. And then she took me to her house, and we did some watercolor painting together. And my gifts from her were all watercolor related, so that was fantastic. Um,
For you to do watercolors with, or
yes.
she painted you a watercolor?
No, she gave me watercolor paper, like different pads, like four different ones, and some new paintbrushes that I had in my wish list on Amazon. And so it was really fun. She spoiled me
Becoming quite the
rotten.
artist.
Well, I'm having fun with it. And then I forget what we did Friday. I should have written down the whole weekend thing because I forgot. Um, oh, that was the day I went to see my mom. So my mom and Ray were spending Mother's Day with Christy in Portland. And so we went to see her on Friday and we took lunch. And I actually thought of you because my mom likes chicken salad.
Mhm.
And so I think the best chicken salad sandwich comes from this little place called Fine Arts Bistro in Glasgow. And they put theirs on pretzel rolls
Oh, that's
and they serve it warm. So it's like chicken salad with provolone cheese on a pretzel roll, and it's warm and delicious. Well, but from Chicken Salad Chick, which we now have in Bowling Green, that I first heard about from you, my favorite chicken salad from there is their lemon basil. So I made my own lemon basil chicken salad and I made my own pretzel rolls. And that's what I took over to mom's. So we went over there and ate with them, and she showed me her card room and her plants and, all that kind of stuff. So it was nice to spend a little time over there. And then Saturday, we spent the first half of the day working in the garden. So I finally, we're so far behind. I skipped all seeds altogether, but I did transplants. So we have pole beans and tomatoes and jalapenos and okra. What else? Some basil and I forget what all. But we spent a good part of the day doing that. And then we went to Menards to try and find a sprinkle, like a waterer for that stuff and some more basil and things like that. And while we were there, I noticed that I'd missed a call from Cherie, who is our daughter-in-law Janelle's mother. And like 10 minutes before, so I picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, I saw I missed a call from you." And the first words out of her mouth were, "Oh, Kathy."
mm,
And I could tell that she was crying. So of course my heart just sank. And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Have you heard from Dale or Janelle?" And she was crying. And so by that point, like I thought I was going to throw up. I'm on the phone in Menards and I just stopped and I bent over and I was like, "What happened? What happened?" And she said that they were in a head on collision and that they were okay, but their car is probably totaled. And so anyway, they were in Tompkinsville. They were only 4 minutes away from their house. And they, went around the corner and this lady crossed the lane and hit them and totaled their car, their SUV, and all the airbags deployed. And thankfully, they're both okay. Janelle has, some cuts and bruises, and Jude was with him. He's fine. He was terrified, but he's fine, and they're all okay. So the vehicle's not, but they are. So that's what matters. But so that changed the
yeah.
course of our whole family's weekend. I mean, our Mother's Day and everything. It was just all wrapped around this incident and trying to get everything resolved with getting their vehicle replaced and their health seen about, and all that kind of stuff. So it was terrifying. It's that call you don't want,
Sure.
but we're just so grateful that they're all okay. And Carl went to the scene and he said when he saw that vehicle, he was surprised that anyone walked away from it. So,
And to be in a head-on collision and to be okay is just such a rare thing.
mhm, yeah. So we're just thankful that, this conversation could have been a lot different.
Yeah. Well, I'm so thankful they're all right.
Yeah, me too.
I imagine how scary that was for all of them and for you.
Mm, it was, but it's when you're it's funny to look back on an incident like that because it's like you're going about your business, having a really good day, you have no idea what's ahead.
Yeah.
You know, one phone call and everything's different. The whole world is different and nothing else matters.
Mhm.
Who cares about a garden? And it's just here I am frustrated because I couldn't find more basil. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. I know
Um,
exactly what you mean.
yeah, everything just changes in a moment, but they're
Well,
good. They're okay, and we're thankful for that.
good.
Mhm.
Well, we went to, I mentioned the fishing trip, the family reunion that we do. We've been doing this for about 5 years, I guess, with this part of the family, because Grady, John's dad, he died 5 years ago. In fact, we're coming up on the fifth anniversary pretty soon. But that's where they grew up, going for vacation is to the Bend. And if any of you have seen the video that Jordan created called The Bend, it's about
Mhm.
this place and how he this is where Jordan he just loved going when he was a kid because you could fish all you wanted to fish and camp out. He got to spend time with his granddad and his dad, and so it's a special place, especially to Jordan, our son, and my nephew Josh and my nephew Derek. That they just grew up doing that together. So they have a lodge out there. It's called Leaning Bluff Lodge because there's a bluff out there that it's really impressive. It leans, um, hence the name Leaning Bluff Lodge. So it's our extended family, which would be our family, and then Tommy's family and Anita's family, and all the kids and grandkids. Not everybody gets to come, but I counted, I believe there were 13 kids that were 10 and under, or
Wow.
about 10 and under. So
Mhm.
you can imagine there was lots of activity and lots of fun, lots of noise, and um, the kids just have a ball. They dig in the yard. You can dig in the dirt, and they made mud pies, literal mud pies, uh, Play-Doh all over the ground, and we all just bring our camping chairs and just sit. And the weather was gorgeous, and so
Very
it
nice.
was, camping is not my thing. It never has been. I didn't grow up camping, but it is Jordan's thing, and he and Aaron love to do that. And they brought her parents' camper, which is really, really nice and it's long and large. And so they parked it right next to the lodge, and we stayed with them in the camper with our grandkids.
Mhm.
So it was fun. And when you go on a trip like that, you just take your grubbies and you wear your old nasty things. And we have what we always call river shoes. It's like the most worn out pair of shoes. It graduates, or I don't know if it graduates. What's the opposite of graduates? It goes to the bottom. So those are the ones you take to the river because it doesn't matter if they get trashed in the river. And we're just all in our old nasty clothes, and Aaron and I were down at the river's edge, and we were watching the whole crew. Just about everybody was down there in the water, and they're seining for minnows, which when we got married, I had no idea what that meant. I don't even know if it's the right terminology that other people would understand, but and they also do trot lining. Have you ever heard of trot lining?
No.
I
Mhm.
had never heard of that before we got married. Basically, it just means that and I may be saying this wrong because I don't get out there and do it, but they rig up this line from one side of the bank to the other, and it has hooks on it. And
Hmm.
somehow it's attached. They have like jugs or something that you can see. So I probably get myself in trouble trying to talk about this because I don't understand it. But they leave it there overnight, and then during the night, catfish, they take the bait. And so when they go down there in the morning, sometimes they go, and most of the time they go in the middle of the night and in the morning, and they pull this string up, and it's got 8 or 9 catfish on it. So that's trot lining, and somebody can correct me if I've said that wrong. But anyway, Aaron and I are standing on the bank. We're watching all of us in our grubbies and our nasties, and the kids are, playing in the water, and the adults are seining for minnows, and it's noisy and crazy. And she said, usually when we go places when we're camping, these are the kind of people that we try to avoid. She said, we have become those people. So I was looking down at myself thinking, yeah, I look like one of those people right now. People to try to avoid, but we had fun, and we went on
Sounds like a
hikes,
great time.
and each family takes turns providing the meal, and we all were on our own for lunch and breakfast. And it's just kind of a time you don't have very good cell phone service. So it's a unplugged time, and we enjoyed it.
Mhm. Very
That's
nice.
what we did.
I think
Yeah.
it's really cool that your whole family does that every year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. So what are you gonna do for your birthday? Which is
Well, my birthday's tomorrow, but
tomorrow. Yes.
yes, but all the family's coming over. So when this airs, it'll be done with. But my birthday's on a Wednesday, so all the family's coming over on Friday, and they're all gonna cook for me. And they asked me what I wanted, and I said, surprise me. So I have no idea what it's going to be. I'll have to share that next time. But I do know that they've been checking out my Pinterest boards. So, and whatever it is, Neil said he's pretty excited about it and he thinks I'm going to like it. So I'll let you know what that is. But
Sounds interesting. Well, are you
yeah,
going to do anything tomorrow?
no, I don't think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Just have a nice day and stick your fingers in the dirt and
Today, when we're done here, I'm going to play pickleball with, it's not a lesson. I'm just going to play with Hillary and with her daughter Conley. So bringing in even younger people, I'm ready for us to bring in some people older than me. So, but then later this evening, Neil's taking me to Tony's.
what's Tony's?
It's our local steakhouse. It's a really nice steakhouse. So we're thanks to our neighbor, when all that flooding happened and they were having to walk through our property, they gave me a bouquet of flowers and a gift card to Tony's Steakhouse. So we're going to use that tonight.
Okay.
So we're doing that. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then I was going to share some things. I was going to have a little show and tell.
Okay. I'm
And
ready.
everything that I'm going to show and tell about is green, which is appropriate because this is May. It's my favorite month. It's a very green month. Emerald is the birthstone. Green's my favorite color. So the first thing I was going to share is my Mother's Day gift from Gary and Chelsea is a new pickleball
A
paddle,
pickleball paddle.
pretty green
And it's
color,
green.
and they gave me a matching green tumbler.
Nice.
So isn't that cute?
That is cute.
So I can look cute while I'm playing
It's all
pickleball.
about looking cute.
It's all about looking cute because if you can't play, you need to look cute.
Yeah.
And then the other things were yesterday evening, well, early evening, we went to Mammoth Cave Transplants, which is about half an hour from here. I was still looking for some more basil. But I'd also heard that they had something called a cherry bush, which I've never heard of before. And I wanted one. And I'm so thankful that they still had some when we went. Look how adorable this thing is.
Are they tomatoes?
They're cherries.
Cherry tomatoes?
No,
Oh,
cherries.
cherries.
Like real cherries. And they're actually edible. It's a bush cherry. It's the variety is called easy as pie, but they're actually edible tart cherries, like the kind you can make desserts and pies out of. So um, it's it grows in our zone, and it only gets 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide, and it's supposed to be really hardy, disease resistant, like everything wonderful. So I'm going to plant it on the inside of our fence, so I don't have to worry about deer and stuff coming to it. But I'm really, really excited about this thing. And then the other thing I picked up that was new for me is a bay laurel. Look at that. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
are those bay leaves like you put in your soups?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
cool.
And I've always wanted one. Now, this is not hardy to our zone,
Mhm.
which means I'm going to have to either move it back and forth and bring it inside for the winter or just leave it inside. And I might do that because my lemon tree seems to do better if I just leave it inside year round instead of moving it back and forth. So I'm not sure, but we're excited to have this thing.
And
Sweet,
I've never
sweet.
seen one of those. I mean, my mom used to use bay leaves in so many different recipes, and I confess that I don't because I couldn't tell a difference in it really, but
Mhm.
every once in a while I'll throw one in there.
I
But
always put it in the pot with my potatoes when I'm making mashed potatoes because that's what my mother always did.
okay.
And then last night I made a recipe. It was called heartwarming Spanish bean soup, and it called for a couple of bay leaves. So I use them pretty often.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the remember last year I had some herbs that I planted and most of them are gone, but the mint is still there, but it's like growing wild. And I need you to come and tell me what to do with it because I'm assuming it needs to be pinched back. And I mean,
It's
I
been
don't,
in a pot.
yeah,
That's good.
but it's like it's flowing over. And I know that there's some things that you're supposed to pinch back, like I'm trying to remember which one that I know, like I guess dill, you're supposed to pinch it back.
And
And I
basil, just so it'll grow full and bushy instead of long and leggy.
Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with taste. It has to do with the way it grows.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm wondering about, because the mint is just like flowing over and it's not in the pot. It's like draped into onto the ground.
Mhm.
John takes care of the plants. I don't,
You can
because
just give her a little haircut.
okay.
I even do that with some of my house plants that do that, the kind that they like the wandering Jew,
Mhm.
and some others that grow out like that. I actually don't like that very much.
Yeah.
And I end up giving them a haircut. And
Well, it makes me nervous anytime that I'm put in charge of any plant because I just don't do very well with it. So anyway,
well, that's okay.
some of us have different talents.
Well, or I planted some mint by the front step because there's this area to the left. It's not our front steps, it's the side steps, but it's the door that everybody comes in and out of. There's this area that we cannot do anything with. I mean, we've tried planting things there. We've tried just putting mulch there. We've tried planting grass seed there. Nothing responds. So last year I thought I'll just plant mint here because mint would survive anything, and I don't care if it takes over. It'll smell good when we mow it. And so anyway, it really didn't take off the way I expected. I planted parsley and it did, but the mint really didn't. So we ended up mowing all that down. And this year, what we did is we just laid down all gravel. Like this big white gravel is now on both sides of the steps. So instead of trying to plant anything at all, we just covered it with a thick layer of white gravel and it looks way so much better. So last week I noticed there's mint growing up through the gravel. So when I wanted it to thrive, it really didn't do anything. Now that I don't want anything there, the mint is peeking up and growing through those rocks. And I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. You better be careful what you wish for, right?
Exactly. Oh,
Speaking
me.
of Hillary, I meant to do this last week and it slipped my mind. Her daughter, I met her. I know she's got more than one, right? Is it
She has 4 kids, two older ones and two younger ones.
okay? The younger daughter, what's her name? Not
Kara.
Conway.
Kara.
Kara. Okay. So Hillary brought her to meet me at Equipped,
The
and
younger one.
yes. And
Okay.
so she's standing there and she said, she was telling her, now Carla is, she's the one with Kathy on the podcast. And Kara's face just, I mean, her smile, I just wanted to lean over and hug her. She looked so adorably precious. And she was, apparently, she listens to the podcast. I'm not sure how old she is. I want to say 10, maybe something like that. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because she's maybe our youngest listener and she's very sweet and the cutest thing. Maybe she doesn't want me to call her cute, but I just wanted to give her a shout out because I think she's adorable.
Yeah, Hillary sent me a picture of her with the headphones on and said that she was listening to the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. She's sweet.
Yeah,
All right.
and
Anything else?
she's real life sweet too. And Conley she came to Our Lady's Bible class last month. And
Mhm.
I've talked a little bit about that on here before, how we're doing it a little bit differently, trying to ask questions to get people to open up and be real with each other. And she made some comments in class that were like flat out straight wisdom.
Mm,
And I remember like looking over her thinking, that may be
yeah.
one of the best things said all night, and she's the youngest person here.
Her.
Yeah.
Good for her. All right. Well, I know you and I both have places to be and things to do, so we probably should get started unless you got more to share.
No, let's get started.
Hey. Well, what we're going to talk about today is, and I mentioned very awkwardly at the beginning, it's kind of a theory that has like supposedly swept the world. It's a theory, and I don't really even think of it as a theory, but it's called Let Them. And this is a book that has been written by a woman named Mel Robbins. She's a podcaster and a writer and all this. And the first time I heard anything about it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago on the Today Show. And they were interviewing her, and she was talking about this theory that she had of let them. And she was saying that her son was getting ready to go to some event, and she was frustrated because the group of them, her son and his friends, they hadn't made reservations, they hadn't done these preparations and things, and they were standing around being indecisive about what they were going to do. And she just kept getting frustrated with them. And her daughter said, Mom, just let them do it the way they want to do it. Just let them. And the more she thought about it, the more sense it made to her just to let them do what they're going to do, and just to release yourself of the worry and the need to arrange things, the need to control things. Just let them. So this has become, I know it's not, didn't necessarily originate with her, because I've heard a poem that was about just let them do what they're going to do. But she's written a book now, and supposedly it's like Oprah's favorite self-help book, and she's like the number one podcaster in the whole wide world and all this. So my initial thought when I heard on the Today Show, I thought, well, that's biblical, because she was talking about if someone cuts you off in traffic, just let them. And so I kind of thought it was one of those things, like you were being selfless. You were just letting others before yourself, thinking of others as being more important than you. But then I did a little bit more digging into it, and that's not really the premise of it. It's not where it's coming from. And she talked about it being, there's other things like Stoicism, and I think she mentioned even Buddhism, and basically it's what she called it is a mindset behavior change. And here's a few quotes from that interview that I wrote down because I thought it was interesting. She said, "No matter what's going on outside of you, the power is always inside of you." And what she means by that is that you are the one that gets to choose how you respond to how others treat you, what others say about you, what others are doing out in the world. The power is inside of you, not out when things are out of control outside of you. And then she said, along with the let them, you also say, let me. And basically, just it's reminding yourself that you have control of your thoughts and your actions, and how you process your feelings is all up to you. And we get to choose. And I completely agree with that. I mean, anytime John used to hammer this home to me, I would get so frustrated with people that would say things to him or treat me a certain way. And it would just, I'd get so mad. And he'd say, Carly, you're letting them control your feelings. And I kept saying, well, that they shouldn't do that. He was like, no, that you have the choice to make whether or not you're going to get upset about it, and you're letting them have power over you that you really shouldn't. So John was saying, let them, long before Mel Robbins was. But anyway, she goes on to say, anytime you try to control things, you just create stress and frustration for yourself. And she there's just a lot of different things that she say that I think they're good. She said, my life and my responsibility, and she said the definition of responsibility is the ability to respond. How is our ability to respond? I am the one to control my response. And then so she was talking about, so someone, your friends decide to go to brunch without you, let them. Whereas on one hand, you'd be indignant that they would do something without you. Well, your choice to respond to that is to just let them do what they're going to do. Let them have that fun and just go on about your business. Maybe your kids don't want to do whatever it is that you've planned for them that weekend. She says, let them. And, this is kind of where I start having a little bit of an issue with things, because sometimes you can't just let them do things that aren't right, or that let things go undone that need to be done. Um, she said, there is so much time and energy wasted on forcing others to match our expectations, which I mean, how many times have we talked about the expectations are just premeditated resentments, or that not everybody thinks like you. And so here we are, I'm expecting you to think just like I think about something, and you don't. And how am I going to respond to that? Am I going to be upset that you don't think just the way I do? Am I going to, we just have a choice to make. And so that's kind of what this is about. So anyway, you and I talked a little bit before, just because I wanted, this, we haven't had much time to think about this overnight, really, is all I gave you time to think about it. And I think you had a little bit of a different take on some things. So tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, only in that I think you disagree with it more than I do. But To be fair, I actually didn't look at the interview until this morning. And I went to her Instagram page and I listened to some of her videos and I read some of her quotes and posts and things like that. And the impression that I got was a little bit different. Um, and I kind of felt like it was valuable advice. And because she's talking about control, that seems to be the premise. I think it can probably be abused. And obviously there are situations where you don't let them, young children in your home, you don't just let them do what they want. It's our responsibility to make decisions for them when they're young. So I think obviously it can be abused, but I think overall it's brilliant advice because, and maybe it's because I recognize that struggle within myself. And I do tend to have expectations in my mind. It should have gone this way, or you should do this with me, or I thought we were going to do this, or and so then I get frustrated or aggravated. An easy example here would be something with my husband. If he's doing something that's absolutely driving me nuts, so because it's driving me nuts, I'm the one responding in that way and letting it aggravate me, letting it annoy me, and this whole idea of just let him be him, it doesn't bother him at all.
Yeah.
He's not worried about it. He's not stressed over it. He's not thinking anything of it. I'm the one that's turning it into a thing because I think it should be handled a certain way or done or not done or whatever the example is. And so when I started listening to the interview and the premise behind it, I thought it's really actually quite good because in the beginning she talks about, and she's not coming from it from a Christian
Yeah, not at
angle.
all.
I think if you listen to our podcast, you can kind of pick some of that up, but she's not coming at this from a Christian angle, and we are.
Mhm.
But in the beginning, she says, why does this resonate with so many people? Why did this take off? Why are people getting let them tattoos? Hashtag let them. And it's because she said it's because for a few years now, we've all felt like we have no control whatsoever. Like the whole world has gone crazy. Now what? You know, and we're just feel like we've been bombarded with all these different things and it's created these feelings of fear and insecurity or what have you. And so when you give yourself permission to let people be who they are and do what they're going to do anyway, that is something you have control over because you can't control anybody else and what they're going to do, but you can control your response. And so that makes complete sense to me. And one of the statements that she made in that interview that you shared from the Today Show is this idea of it helps us to love them as they are. And I thought about that in a marriage relationship, think about church family dynamics, and how it makes it easier for us to overlook things that we might take personally or be offended by or to extend grace, so that was my take on it was I thought that's actually really quite good and I need to implement it myself.
Do you think that I'm not a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not. I tend to like back off of things when I start seeing things going a different way than how I perceive them. I might have thoughts about it, but I back off. Like I don't try to change anything. So I don't know. And I don't think of you as being a control freak. Do you see
I
your
probably, I would say yes and no. I mean, if it's some like organized activity in the congregation, I feel zero desire to be in control. I'm happy to just be given my role and do it. Um, Even with my grown children, I may worry about things, but I feel zero desire to have any control whatsoever in their adult lives. I just don't think that's my place. Probably more of that is in my relationship with my husband and me having these expectations or thinking things should go a certain way or he should do a certain thing and the dumb things. I'm not even talking about the things that matter. I'm not talking about faith matters or roles or anything like that. It's just those little dumb things that shouldn't be annoyances, but they are because I wouldn't do it that way. So in that way, I think, and it's not the control freak so much as it is just controlling my response and realizing things that I've been laying blame at his feet for don't belong there.
Yeah.
because it's my response. I'm the one that got worked up about that. I'm the one that allowed that to be something to bother me
Mm.
when it shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's why I found it to be very helpful and an easy phrase to remember, let him do things the way he wants to do it. In the end, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
Now, I think some of the confusion can come in. Maybe I'll just let you say some of your issues with it because I think that that's probably what we're going to want to camp out on, probably.
Yeah. Well, and I meant to say this at the very beginning that I have not read the book. And so I, haven't done a whole lot of research on it. But after I listened to the podcast, that, when I saw the Today Show thing and I thought, oh, this would be a good topic for us to talk about. Then I went to the podcast and I was not impressed with her, I guess, because she's just got a foul mouth and she's, like you said, doesn't come at it from a Christian perspective. And so I just kind of felt like there was a lot of things um that she was just saying, just let them, it's not your problem, just let them. And um where I completely agree with what you're saying. When it's my choice to, if it's something that really doesn't matter, then yeah, just let them. And maybe a better phrase for me might be, does it really matter, Carla? Let it go. And that's where sometimes I probably just need to tell myself, if there's something that is bothering me about the way somebody's doing something,
Mm-hmm.
just let it go. Just let it go. And maybe I sing that song to myself rather than just say, let them. I don't know. Because I got to thinking about that, really, Jesus, he let them, if you want to go that far, when you think about different times, he invited people to him. Of course, we have the responsibility to follow him. We're expected to follow him, but he does not force us. He invites us. And so in that sense, I feel like, yeah, he does. He lets us make the choice whether or not we are going to follow him. There's consequences
Mm-hmm.
when we don't, but he doesn't force us to, because, like we talked about forever and ever, love doesn't do that. Love does not force you to do certain things that who wants to be loved that way? Nobody wants to be forced to love. But, think about the rich young ruler, how he came to Jesus and wanted to know, I've done all these things. What else can I do? I need to do, but he wasn't willing to do the thing that Jesus told him to do. And I love that passage. It says Jesus felt a love for him. And what that's, I guess I'm probably imposing some feelings here on this theory that may not be there, because I feel like so many times when someone says let them, it's out of a passive aggressive type of, well, I don't care anyway. It's like, whatever they're going to do, just let them do it. And that's where I feel like we have to be really careful and not be that way. But I wanted to talk about what I thought was good first. And one of the things was that Jesus, he does let us choose. And I do think it is very important to learn to control our thoughts and to be responsible for how we respond to things, because that is not one of my talents. I might outwardly seem like I'm handling things well, but in my head,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking things that I shouldn't think. I told you in our private chat before, and you even, there was something that you said that made me think. I think you said you wrestled with yourself, or you wrestled with your thoughts, and that's where you know, but I think that's good. We have to wrestle with our thoughts, and that's part of controlling our thoughts and our actions. And the thing that she says about choosing where we're going to spend our time and energy, I think that's great too, because if we are so focused, narrowly focused on what someone else is doing, how they're treating us, or how we perceive that they're treating us, it's just a waste of our time and energy, which would be better spent somewhere else. And then boundaries. I think we do have to place boundaries. And I don't know, I'm not good at this. Maybe you can share thoughts on this, because sometimes we talk about placing boundaries on people, not letting them close or not letting them in because they've hurt us in the past for whatever reason. And I guess I have not experienced that personally, where I had to put really strict, firm boundaries on someone. And I think that's kind of what she's saying is putting boundaries on how people affect us. Did you pull anything out about that?
Uh, I think I just assumed that was all mental,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna, there are plenty of things that we can be upset about that are gonna happen that are sad or upsetting or disturbing, tragic, without taking on what we perceive as everybody else's. And to me, that was the boundaries of,
Mhm.
you know, again, going back to the whole, I can't control what happens, but I can control how I respond to what happens when it involves other people and
Mhm.
their choices and their decisions. So I thought that's what she was talking about with the whole boundaries thing.
Yeah. I remember one time being frustrated in a relationship situation with someone who was, you just never knew what to expect. You never knew which version of this person you were going to get. And it was like one day they would be super friendly and I thought we were great friends. And then the next it was like, I don't know, did I do something? Is something going on in their life? And it made me reflect on God, how God is always the same and he never changes. And anyway, I think my point in this is that I had to just come to the conclusion that that was her. Whatever was going on in her life was causing her to react in a certain way, and it wasn't about me. And maybe
Mhm.
that's part of what I need to remember, that not as strange as it seems, not everything is about me. It's how
Mhm.
someone treats me, maybe as a result of other things going on in their life. And that's where I have to just say, let them. And whatever is going on, maybe we need to go to them and say, is there, where I don't know if Mel Robbins would say this, go to them and say, is everything okay? Or do we just let them alone? Is that it? Do we just let them alone? So I think where I things that I was not too sure about is regarding this theory, because she talks about trusting ourselves and that the power is in ourselves. And really, that's not true. I know that we have the power um, to not allow others' actions to affect ourselves, but the power comes from God and not from ourselves. So recognizing where true power comes from, um, then I think that there's times that we need to speak up when there's things going on in people's lives that might hurt them, rather than just saying let them. Um, do we need to go say, hey, I'm afraid that this is going to hurt you if you keep doing this, or do we just let them? That was, I guess, kind of part of where I felt like it might not be the greatest idea. And then I wondered, where does godly wisdom enter into this picture as well? Because there are times, and you mentioned this earlier, there are times you can't just say let them do what they're going to do. And we have to use that discernment that we have grown because we are Christians in the word. And so I think that's a little bit of a difficult thing for me to swallow as far as this let them theory.
Yeah. I feel like this is two different conversations though. I think that, there's a difference between how we respond to somebody's actions and our role as Christians when it comes to service and love. And we're to look out for one another, bear one another's burdens, offer to help guide somebody if we see them going down a road that's going to lead them, to spiritual trouble. I think love means you're going to step in and offer counsel and guidance. But even then, how they choose to respond is not on us.
Yeah.
And we show the love of Christ, we show the grace of Christ, we offer to help, we offer to guide, all those things. That to me, that's love and service and just how we live and shine as Christians. And I think but the topic is how we respond to maybe what they choose to do with that,
Yeah.
and maybe they ignore good counsel and advice and biblical wisdom and they head down that path anyway. Maybe we offer love and they reject it. Maybe we offer an apology or forgiveness and they don't respond in kind, and but that's on them, and so I still feel like it's just two different conversations. We're not talking about not caring if somebody is doing something wrong, not caring if they're hurting or not. She might be, but um, I was just thinking about the whole choices that other people make that we have no control over. And maybe not even necessarily, obviously, if my grown child makes a painful spiritual decision, it's going to break my heart. And no amount of saying let them is going to take away that hurt.
Yeah.
But again, the whole power and control that she's talking about, I think all she's saying is that you can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond. So I thought that's what she was talking about when she was talking about that's the kind of power that we hold. We don't have the power to make anybody else do anything or think anything, and be how we think they should be or proceed how we think they should proceed. But we do have the power to control how we respond to that.
Yeah. And maybe that's where I struggle with it because here I say I'm not a control freak, but in counseling situations, for example, when you've given all of the best advice you know to give and they still choose to do it. I mean, when you know the answer
Mm-hmm.
and they're not taking your advice or they're not following through, it's just hard to say let them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, I guess you could call that tough love.
Mm-hmm.
And in counseling situation, it's not going to be someone that I'm necessarily really close to, but so with your children, it would be nearly impossible to just say, let them, let them. Of course, that's how you grow. There's so many situations thinking about when the kids are growing up and you have to let them make their own mistakes because that's how you learn the best is when you make a mistake and then you realize you should have listened to begin with. But
Well, as
um,
frustrating as it is, think about God's relationship with Israel. And, he counseled them, he gave them the right way and the wrong way. He sent his prophets to plead with them, and he did everything, but um, he still let them land in trouble,
yeah,
and suffer the consequences for it. And Romans 1, verses 24 and following, when it talks about the poor choices and I mean really bad choices that man can make, and it says that the wording will be different in the different versions, but basically God lets them go their own way, as perverted as it can be, as way wrong and unnatural as it can be. God lets them do that. He lets them make that choice. And then Psalm 81, the heading over Psalm 81 is, "Oh, that my people would listen to me." And he says that more than one time. And verse 8, "Hear, O my people, while I admonish you. O Israel, if you would but listen to me." Verse 10, "I'm the Lord your God who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." Verse 11 says, "But my people did not listen to my voice. They would not submit to me. So I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own counsels. Oh, that my people would listen to me and walk in my ways." So, you can hear him say, "I wish they would do this and I want them to do this, but I'm going to let them do what they want. I'm going to let them make their own choices. I'm going to give them over to their stubborn hearts." So, in a sense, even as much, I mean, who's going to love anybody more than God loves his people and can see them heading for disaster? But even God didn't overtake their will, didn't try and, intervene. He let them make those choices for themselves.
that made me think about the time that Jesus wept for Jerusalem and said, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, I would have gathered you under my wings, like your little chicks, but you would not. You would not. And, but I think the response, I guess, maybe this is the cynical side of me, the response that you see from God and from Jesus in that situation is sorrow and sadness. Whereas I think most of us, when we're going to say let them, is not out of sorrow or sadness. It's usually out of frustration um, or just that passive aggressiveness. That that bothers me. And it's funny, last weekend in that ladies' day I was in, a friend of mine, and I've mentioned this saying, there's um search your own heart, what paineth thee in others in thine own self may be. And she came up to me and she said, I've heard it this way. There's something about that man that I don't like about myself. So I think, yeah, and I think that passive aggressive, that probably is coming out of me. Maybe that's what I don't really like about this is because I can see myself saying, let them.
Mhm,
And that's not godly to me
mhm.
in my response. So I think I'm working through this. There I go with we're having another therapy session here with me because
Well,
I
I
can
think
see myself doing that.
if it's a whole "Psh, forget about it, I'm washing my hands of you, this whole apathy, you're on your own, I don't care, you know, I don't see anywhere biblically that God wants us to not to stop loving people, to stop wanting what's best for them and always trying to be what we're supposed to be so that it's easier for them to do the right thing. That definitely is not biblical if that's what we're talking about. But if we're talking about even as painful as it is to see somebody, even after we know people, and you've probably experienced it yourself, where you put hours and days and prayers and teaching, and you just poured your heart into somebody, and or a couple or a relationship or a young Christian or whatever it is. And even after all that time and investment in love, it doesn't matter how hard you tried, how much effort you put into it, how much of yourself you gave, it just didn't turn out. The relationship fell apart anyway, or they fell away anyway, or whatever it is. And it's just heartbreaking. It hurts, and it can be frustrating just because you're like, after everything that we've been through together. But at the same time, what are you going to do in response from there? Because you can't force them to believe the right thing, do the right thing, act the right way. All you can do is continue to live joyfully, trust in God. At some point, you just have to let them make their own choices. It doesn't mean that you no longer care or hurt for them.
Yeah. And that what I kept coming to in my mind is yes, let them, but love them. I
Yes.
just kept thinking to myself, let them, yes, but love them. Continue to love them.
Yeah, it goes back to what she said. This allows you to love them as they are. It doesn't mean you're condoning. If we're talking about sin, it
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're condoning it. I think in a lot of cases, though, what I'm thinking about is just when people are different than me.
Yeah.
they think they think and act different than me, and I'm like, that's driving me nuts. Well, let them be the way they are. That's how they are. That's how they see things. And it allows me understanding that and remembering that. I mean, it intellectually, but actually putting that into practice to couch my response and to realize I'm being ridiculous allows me to love them even in those ways.
Yeah. And I've
Just
gotten
like I
better
want
about
people to do for me.
right. And I've gotten better about this, but
Let
in my
me.
past, I would have said, yeah, okay, I'll let them make their own decision about that. They can do whatever they want. They can think that way, even though it's dumb. They can think that way. And I'm better about that. I'm not quite, I've learned because it was so freeing for me to understand when I finally did that not everybody thinks like me. Then I could figure out, oh, well, then there maybe what I thought they might be offended by, they're not offended by that. And it just changed things for me anyway. I wanted to mention a few verses before we wrap up, how I guess where I'm taking issue with this. And I see what you're saying more in inconsequential things, how you think it's easy to say let them. And I guess I'm thinking more of more important decisions, more, and that's a judgment call too. But just thinking about passages like Mark 12:31, where we're to love our neighbors as ourselves. And if can we do that really if we're saying let them do something harmful? But again, like you're saying, it's not always about something harmful. Galatians 6:1 and 2, where we're to restore someone in the spirit of gentleness and considering our own selves, how we might be how we might fall trip by the same way, and that we're to bear one another's burdens. And I see, now that we've talked this through, I see how it is more. I'm tending to think of it more if with things that are not inconsequential. But Romans 15:1, those who are strong bear the weaknesses of those who are without strength, and not just trying to please ourselves. Philippians 2, having the mind of Christ, who, he emptied himself and he came in the form of a servant. And to me, I think, how can I have that attitude of a servant if I'm looking at people and saying, just do what you're going to do? But that's a little different. Luke 23:34, where Jesus said, Father, forgive them. He didn't say let them, he said forgive them. So it's just having that spirit of forgiveness, although he was saying let them make their own choice. So um Romans 12:18, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. So I guess part of this let them is allowing yourself to have the attitude of I'm going to be at peace if they make that decision. So that's a little different than what I was thinking of. But then Luke 6, verses 27 through 29 talks about how we're to love our enemies. And then all of those imperatives in there about do good and bless and pray and give. I I just think that's who I want to be. I want to be someone that regardless of how someone treats me, if regardless of if they don't invite me to do whatever they're going to do, I'm still going to bless them and pray for them and give to them and do good to them rather than just, like you said a minute ago, washing my hands of it. So that's just kind of where my mind went. And maybe it was in a more negative frame of mind because I do see what you're saying. I think you have some really good points and good thoughts. And I'm
Yeah,
going to
and
let
I'm
you have
sure
those
that
thoughts.
different personalities would respond to this in a different way. I kind of feel like this whole let them theory, as she puts it, allows me to keep loving, serving, forgiving.
Mm.
Because if I don't, and I keep taking everything personally and I keep getting frustrated or I keep, I'm going to burn out.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned the rich young ruler. Well, Jesus let him walk away sorrowfully, even though he loved him.
Right.
And so, again, to me, it's not a matter of let them doesn't mean I stop loving or serving or all those things that we're supposed to do, but it just helps me understand in my response, that's what I have control over is in a sense, agape love is letting people be who they are and make their choices and loving them anyway, as you said earlier.
Yeah. Good points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think my where I land is again, just let them, yes, but love them. Love them still. So I'll think about it some more.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good discussion. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
something good for me?
I do. Neil ran across this one. It's a podcast by Daniel. I think his last name is pronounced Dalp or Dalp. It's DALP. I'm not really sure, but it's called For Your Sunday Morning Drive.
Huh,
And it's something to listen to on the way to worship. It's just like a little 5 minute thing that prepares your mind for worship.
that's a
So,
great idea.
yeah, I love it. And especially if you have kids in the car, he gives like a little illustration and a little talk and just to kind of uh, get your heart in the right proper place for worship. Um, in fact, the way they describe it is it's called For Your Sunday Morning Drive, a podcast by Daniel Dalp. About 5 minutes long to help center your mind on spiritual things on your way to worship. And so they're also in partnership with Ministry League. And their theme verse is Colossians 3:2.
Sounds
Set your
like a
mind
good
on
one.
things above. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Good deal. You'll have to share the link.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mine is something I absolutely love, and I just found out about it a week
Keep
or
your
two
screen
ago.
protector series.
So if you use an iPad, and if you write on your iPad like I do, I use mine daily to write on. Before, my hand would stick to the glass just because it's, skin on glass. And the pen writing across glass, it felt like you're writing on glass. And it didn't, it wasn't something that really bothered me because I did it. I continued to do it anyway. But then I read something about this paper screen protector, and I absolutely love it. It feels like paper. It's a screen protector. So you clean your screen and then you have to line it up. And I didn't do it perfectly. It comes with two in this one, but my hand doesn't stick to it anymore. The
Hmm.
screen has it's like a matte finish instead of a smooth glossy finish.
Mhm.
And then when you write on it with your pen, it feels like you're writing with the best number 2 pencil on the best paper ever. It even
Hmm.
makes the noise like a pencil on paper. And I don't know why that makes so much difference to me, but it really does. I think the main thing is my hand doesn't stick to the glass anymore and
Mhm.
it just feels smoother. And so, I mean,
That's cool.
I use it for note taking and sometimes I do scripture writing on it, that kind of thing. So I love it. And it's this, I don't know if there's other, I'm sure there's other brands, but this is Belmond and it just looks really cool because it's like Japanese and it comes from Japan. So it's
Hmm.
a paper
That's
screen
neat.
protector for your iPad. Mhm.
I like it.
Right. Well, I liked that discussion. I feel
Mhm.
kind of, in a way, I feel a little bit silly because I feel like I overreacted to it or took issue with it when it really, I probably just took it too far in my mind and was critical. But I can see a lot of value to it. I just
Yeah.
want us to let people but love them too.
Hmm. Hmm. And you're probably right on some of those points, especially when it's not really presented from a Christian perspective. Just like with a lot of things, you can take things and run to the other extreme.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm done with you.
Maybe I need to read the
Sayonara.
book. I probably won't read the book because the podcast, I just couldn't, I didn't, her language and her attitude about things, I didn't care for much. But anyway,
Mhm.
I, I,
Mhm.
I see the value in it. So
Yeah.
thanks for
Interesting
letting me
conversation.
talk through it.
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us. If you found value in this, please do us a favor and like and share and all those things. We're not trying to monetize the podcast in any way, but we do want it to be seen. And so some of those algorithms are helped when you like and follow and all those things that you do on social media. So if you don't mind, we would love for you to do that and join us on our little community on Facebook in our Facebook group called Looking Up with Kathy and Carla. We'd love to see you there and be part of our sitting around the table with a cup of coffee or Coke Zero, whatever you have. Enjoyed being with you. Enjoyed talking to you. I hope you have a wonderful, happy, sweet birthday with all of the best food and friends. I mean, I don't know how you can have the best day because I'm not there, but I guess you can have just a notch underneath. But I hope you have a great birthday turning 30 tomorrow.
Thank you. I can't believe 30 is already here.
I know it's just gone by so fast.
I know. Oh, well.
All right, all right. Until next time.
Keep letting them. Just kidding. Keep looking up.
Keep looking up. All right, love you now. We'll see you later.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye.